Let's look at now the Bedouin influences and their cultural implications. Again, very briefly. Another social group, the desert Bedouins, contribute to this picture, especially as they were to play a significant role in the spread of Islam. Although nomadic, these Bedouins tended to pass by Mecca and Medina with their herds of camels and sheep. They usually remained at the margins of town life, especially as regards religious observance at the Kaaba in Mecca. The Bedouins, after their conversion to Islam, played an important role in early Islam. So how did this come about? Here we are showing some of the images of the desert. The Bedouin nomads had a robust sense of their own identity. In the early days of Islam, news of the revelation was often carried to various parts of Arabia by these nomads. They contributed significantly to the growing cultural legitimacy of Islam within Arabia. They achieved this primarily by affirming the Arabic language as a cohesive element. As Islam spread, Arabic became essential for religious formation. The Bedouins had long practiced the oral traditions of storytelling and poetic recitation. Lacking literacy, writing materials, or elaborate storage, they retained a profound respect for language and memorization. Memorization in particular was considered the badge of Bedouin identity. Bedouins' firm commitment to cultural authenticity was thus combined with growing respect for the Qur'an. A love of the Arabic language united them and proved to be a core asset in developing their religious practice. Much like the use of Latin united the Western Christian Church for centuries. Another key area of Bedouin contribution to Islam concerns the recitation of the Qur'an. Some historians note the Bedouin attachment to ritual punctuated their daily wanderings. Commemoration of place expressed their nostalgia for desert places visited and abandoned. This nostalgia was coupled with the desire to celebrate ideals such as simplicity, patience, and Bedouin honor lost and regained. By stressing the importance of language and recitation of the holy text, the Bedouins contributed in many ways to the emerging Muslim identity, with Arabic as a key marker of this identity. Now we can listen to the recitation of the Qur'an here. Of course, this is very modern. Now let us look at the role of Arabic language. In the case of the Qur'an, language is very much part of the socio-historical context. An important element here is the subtle stylistic devices employed in Arabic that discreetly shape the meaning of the text. It is important to get a sense of how, at the time of the Quranic revelation, such devices were used and understood. This helps us when we deal with the Quranic text today. These stylistic devices have many functions. For example, they establish a hierarchy of significance within the Quranic text, telling the reader that particular verses are more or less important. In other words, some verses need to be understood quite differently from others. For example, language expressing a moral imperative means that the verse is usually taken literally by a Muslim. Alternatively, A verse that appears at first glance to be similar to another may on closer examination refer symbolically or metaphorically to mystical events. Literal meaning should not be seen as the same as metaphorical meaning or symbolic meaning. We will come to these issues in other lectures. A related issue is that many Muslims believe that because of these particular stylistic and other linguistic characteristics of Arabic language, it is impossible to capture these nuances in a translation of the Qur'an and the divine nature of the Qur'an. The linguistic subtlety, even ambiguity of the Arabic language was recognized in the early years of Islam. After about the 10th century of the Common Era, that is the 4th century of Islam, a Quranic interpretation became far more complex and dealt with these issues in many ways. To illustrate how subtlety and complexity of a subject is reflected in the language of the Qur'an, let's look at one example. You will find it in chapter 17 verse 1 and chapter 53 verses 13 to 18. Here the Qur'an represents an event in the life of the Prophet, his famous night journey from Mecca to Jerusalem on horseback in the dead of night. It is followed by his ascent or Mi'raj through the 7 heavens and his return to Mecca the same night. The first Quranic reference to this journey reads, "Glory to him who made his servant travel by night from the sacred place of worship in Mecca to the furthest place of worship in Jerusalem, whose surroundings we have blessed in order to show him some of our signs. He alone is the all-hearing and all-seeing." Here is the second quote. "A second time he," meaning Muhammad, "saw him," meaning Gabriel, "by the Lot tree, beyond which none may pass, near the garden of return, when the tree was covered in nameless splendor. His sight never wavered, nor was it too bold, and he saw some of the greatest signs of his Lord." How might one understand this event? Is the language of the Qur'an in relation to this event to be taken literally or symbolically? Christians will recall that Jesus is depicted as transfigured by light, and this has been understood variously down the centuries among Christians. Similarly, the Prophet's night journey has been understood in many different ways by Muslims. It was even depicted much later by an Indian artist. Here the Prophet's horse, or Burak, is a magical winged creature with a woman's face. In his classic text, The History of the Arabs, Philip Hitti writes, "Embellished by later accretions, this miraculous trip still forms a favorite theme in mystic circles in Persia and Turkey, and a Spanish scholar, Miguel Assin, considers it the original source of Dante's Divine Comedy. Whatever way it is understood, the Prophet's journey, night journey, across the night sky and into the heavens conveys a powerful sense of spiritual yearning for transcendence."